Number 1. When I got home. I really don't know when this clown thing started, and I don't really know what it is all about. All I know is that I had a really weird encounter just recently. I work at a fast food restaurant. I work the closing shift all the time, and I don't have a car. My home is in an older neighborhood. My parents left me the house, so I own it outright. And that is how I can afford to live in a house alone, while only working in a fast food job. One thing the job doesn't afford me, however, is a car. So I walk home every day after I get off of work. On the night that this happened, I got out of work around 1 in the morning. I then began walking home. I live in a small town, so of course it's rare that I come across much of anyone this late in the night. It's a quiet and nice walk home. When I turned on my street, I noticed something very odd. Normally, when I leave for work, since I know that it will be really late when I get home, I leave the porch light on for my house. But even though my house was much further down the street, I could already tell that the porch light was off. Well, it could be a burnout bulb, right? I guess that should have been the first thing that came to my mind. It wasn't, though. I got very nervous, very quickly. My first thought was that someone had broken into my house. I began walking down the street rather cautiously. I kept to the sidewalk, while straining my eyes to try and see what was happening. At first, I noticed that there was someone on my porch. Okay, so burnout light bulb and someone on my porch. That was enough to get me very worried. So I took the side yard of one of my neighbors, and I walked over to the backyard of my immediate next-door neighbor. Yes, I know how stupid this sounds, too. I should have just called the police. However, the thought didn't occur to me at first. I wanted to know who was on my porch. I was actually trying to think of a way to handle it myself. Plus, my immediate thought was also that this could have been a friend of mine playing a really mean prank on me. It wasn't unheard of. If it was, and I called the cops on him, then that would just be a huge mess of itself. I walked up to the side yard of my neighbor, and peeked around the corner to see who the someone was. Sitting on my porch, rocking back and forth on my dad's old rocking chair, was a clown. The shock I felt go through my body was indescribable. But the shock turned to fear when I saw the clown holding a large machete in his hand. Amid the fear, I still had the idea that this may have been one of my friends. We pranked back and forth, and this sort of prank would really have been a victory for my friends. But I decided the best thing to do was call the police. Even if it was one of my buddies, I didn't want to take the chance. I quickly ducked back into the side yard of my neighbor. I called the police and told them that there was a clown with a machete on my porch. This is when I found out about the recent clown sightings. The dispatcher didn't believe me at first and thought I was falsely reporting a clown because of the popular trend. I insisted that this was not the case. So they sent out a police car. I waited in the side yard for about 20 minutes, waiting for the police to arrive. It was 20 of the most terrifying minutes of my life. Finally, though, I saw the flashing lights of the car turn down the street. There was no siren, though. As the cop car passed by my neighbor's house, I decided to come out and go over to my house. I felt safe finally. When I turned the corner, however, the clown was gone. My porch light was still out, but there was no clown anymore. I went up and talked to the police. I explained what happened. I don't think he believed me. He thought I made up the sighting. But still, he checked out my house for me at my request. I guess it was just in case. And there was no clown in my house. I locked myself in the house when he left, and I closed all of the blinds. I have to tell you, it was a long time before I felt comfortable again. That was the scariest night of my life. Number 2. Graveyard. I don't know what the hell is going on with this clown thing, but whatever it is, it obviously is not good. It's probably just a bunch of people messing around, but it's still pretty freaky. I had a clown experience recently. I was hanging out with my best friend Todd. We were pretty psyched that Halloween was coming. We wanted to start a YouTube channel that we use to do ghost hunts. I mean, what's a better time than Halloween than to do something like that? We tried to decide what would be the best setting for our very first episode. Well, we decided to do a graveyard. Some graveyards have gates around them. Some might have caretakers or something like that. We wanted to make sure that when we finally went out and made our video, that we wouldn't get any interruption at all. And of course, the only way to find a graveyard that we can film in at night was going to look for one at night. There are plenty of graveyards in our area. We had scouted about one a night for 3 nights. We hadn't found any that we really wanted to use. I mean, some of them were accessible, but we didn't just want accessible. We wanted it to be both accessible and spooky. The 4th graveyard we scouted out was alright. I won't say it was perfect, and actually, we didn't end up choosing it for our video. But there's another reason for that. Todd and I were looking through the graveyard when we noticed that a light was up ahead of us. I immediately got worried. I thought it was a caretaker or something. I told Todd we had to leave. Todd, however, was a lot more adventurous than me. He decided that it wasn't likely to be a caretaker. He thought it was probably some high school kids hanging out in the graveyard, telling ghost stories or something like that. Todd thought we should try to sneak up on them, check out and see if they were teenagers, and if so, sneak up on them and scare the living daylights out of them. Against my better judgment, I decided to go along with it. We tried to get close up on them so that we could see. When we got closer, we saw that the light was likely coming from a crackling fire. But that wasn't the part that froze us in fear. There were 5 clowns, holding hands and circling the fire. I had never seen anything like that before. The first thing I thought was that it seemed like some sort of weird, cultish ritual. Fortunately for us, we were in the dark, and the clowns were circling a fire, so they couldn't see us. And I knew that we should get the hell out of there, but it was so hypnotic watching them. It was Todd who suggested that we leave. So we did, and we were quiet. Now, I have no idea what it was that those clowns were doing. I have no idea if they would have meant us any harm. But just try to picture what we saw. Picture 5 clowns, sort of dancing around a fire in a graveyard. Pretty freaky, huh? It kinda sucks that we were just scouting that night and didn't have our video camera with us. That would have looked very interesting in your video. Number 3. The unexpected. I had the strangest thing happen to me the other night. I live in an apartment building in a 1-bedroom apartment. The other night I was in bed sleeping when I heard a loud knocking on my front door. I found this to be very, very odd because the building I live in has a security door. I don't know anyone else who lives in my building. No one buzzed my buzzer, so I had absolutely no idea who it might have been. I got up, stumbling across the floor. I looked up at the clock, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I had no idea what could be going on. I guess I figured maybe one of my neighbors had a problem in their apartment, and they needed me for something. I went up to the front door, and grabbed onto the chain. I was half asleep as I mentioned. I realized, though, it would be pretty stupid to open the door without looking through the peephole. I took my hand off of the chain, and put my eye up to the peephole. I got the shock of my life. And it really felt like a shock, too. Standing outside my door was the scariest looking clown that I'd ever seen in my entire life. His makeup was evil looking. His mouth makeup had fangs drawn into it. Wounds and blood were made up all over his face. His eyes were narrowed, and he had the sickest smile I'd ever seen on his face. Worst of all, he was pounding on my door with what looked like a meat cleaver. He loudly knocked on the door again, startling me. I wasn't sure how I should react. I mean, he was freaky. I thought maybe I should just pretend not to be home. I'm not sure how you address a clown that looked like a psychopath. Finally, I decided that I needed to say something. I mean, I had no idea who this guy was. If he didn't think I was home, there was nothing stopping him from going over to someone else's door, and maybe the next person would open the door, and who knew what that could have led to. I told the guy to go away or I would call the police. He then began pounding on the door again. My heart was beating hard in my chest. I told him I was going to go and call the cops now. I went and grabbed my cell phone. When I got back to the door, I watched as the clown was looking directly at the peephole. He then backed away, held the cleaver up in the air, and then began spinning around in a circle laughing. He danced over to the stairwell, opened up the door, and he was gone. I reported it to the police. It was terrifying. I just hope no one got hurt. Hey all, Killer Orange Cat here. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. Feel free to share this video with someone you think might enjoy it, and leave me some comments below. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please hit the button next to the tabby to be informed of new content. Feel free to follow Ichigo and myself on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, so I got this influx of clown stories in my email, and I began to wonder what is going on. Is it Ronald McDonald's birthday or something? I mean, I know people are scared of clowns, but I've never gotten so many clown-related stories at one time. I read the news every day, and I seriously had absolutely no idea that there have been a lot of these creepy clown sightings. Now personally, I don't find clowns to be scary at all, but some of these stories are genuinely creepy. I can't say I know how many of them are actually true, since they seem nearly impossible to verify. For people who've listened to my channel for a long time, you know that I'm a bit of a skeptic. Even so, I tend to give all the stories submitted to my channel the benefit of the doubt as to their veracity. However, due to the number of made-up reports about encounters, I've decided to leave the word true out of the title this time. Now, this is not meant to disparage in any way the people who have sent in these encounters. They claim that they are true, and they very well may be. I just think, since this is something which is obviously happening, I would not want to encourage people to submit these encounters to horror channels. If these things happen to you, I encourage you to instead report them to the police. That being said, if you have a story you want to be narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please submit it to the address included in the description. And don't forget to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.